Alright, what's going on, you guys? Welcome to Real Madrid Hub again. I'm your host, Dr. Jota, and I wanted to make this video because I think these news are important enough for you to know who is going to be in the market as of the next summer. I mean, I'm talking about all the Real Madrid players that might be potentially sold the next summer. This information is coming out from ABC Spain. It was released about 1 hour ago, so it contains about 8 names plus 2 to 3 players that might be on loan given on loan for the next season. So let's get into the details and let's go name by name, and let me explain you really quick what is my opinion of every single player and why is he or that player in the list. I mean, what is the current situation of the player in Real Madrid and why I do think that this player or what is the reason why this player has been included in this list. Okay, so let me get started with the 2 players I consider the most potentially sellable players for Real Madrid, because I think that everybody knows that Marcelo Vieira and Isco Alarcón are the 2 top priorities for Real Madrid for selling in this market. I mean, although the kind words from Carlo Ancelotti the other day during the press conference regarding to these 2 players to whom coached in the past, in the first season he was coaching to Real Madrid, and let me tell you that he achieved, in my opinion, the best version of these 2 players in that season, in the first season he coached to Real Madrid. Right now, although I think that he is still counting on them, the club, Real Madrid, I mean the team, I mean whether board members, Florentino Perez or whoever it is, have decided to include them in the list because they consider these players are no longer, valuable players or players that are really worth to have in the squad this year. I mean, this is something very specific. I mean, every time a coach of Real Madrid takes over the bench, have to accept some rules from, the boss, from the board members, from Florentino Perez. And those rules in this case are, there are a bunch of players we have to get rid of in this season, right quick. And for example, these 2 players, or 2 of the 8 players, are Isco Alarcón and Marcelo Vieira. And no matter what, I mean, it doesn't matter that Carlo Ancelotti thinks that they still have the potential to keep playing in Real Madrid, because Real Madrid have already taken a decision regarding to these 2 players, and they will be sold no matter what. Marcelo Vieira is the kind of player who has spent the most time of his career in Real Madrid. He has won a lot of trophies, a lot of titles, so in my opinion he doesn't care if he has to spend the rest of the season on the bench. I mean, it's not a big deal, and it's not important enough for him to move out to another team, another city, another project, or whatever you want to call it, right? So if an interesting offer comes through for Marcelo Vieira, I would say that Real Madrid will try to convince the player to leave this summer. But if any offer comes through, then Marcelo might stay in Real Madrid. So that is, in my opinion, pretty much the situation regarding to the Brazilian player. So let's move on and let's start to talk about Isco Alarcón. Okay, Isco Alarcón's situation is pretty much the same situation than Marcelo's, but there's a difference. Isco Alarcón wants to keep playing soccer. Problem is, level in Real Madrid is much higher than he wants to, than the level he wants to play at. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if he wants to keep playing soccer, he might go to another team where the requirements and demands are lower, or level is lower, or, I mean, with respect to any other club and teams and players and Isco Alarcón, of course, but in my opinion, he doesn't want to keep playing to the same level with the same demands that he has in Real Madrid. You know what I'm saying? So Isco Alarcón will be one of the players who might leave Real Madrid and will try to leave Real Madrid, although the kindly words from Carlo Ancelotti. So that is my take on the situation of Isco. So if we move forward, we will find to a couple players that, in my opinion, not these two players can be sold this summer. I'm talking about Jovic and Mariano. The problem with that, you cannot get rid of both of them. And the reason is pretty much because you have the Benzema like the only striker. We only have just one striker. If you cannot sign any other striker this year, you cannot get rid of all the rest of the strikers, because at least you have to have one striker more in the bench to replace Benzema just in case we need him. And the other thing is, Karim Benzema is beyond the 30s. So you might be thinking in a replacement. So from my understanding, Luka Jovic might be that natural substitute or replacement, whatever you want to call it, but Jovic has been included in this list. So it did Mariano Diaz. Mariano Diaz is also included in this list, but the problem with Mariano Diaz, unlike Jovic, is a salary thing. It's a salary problem. Mariano Diaz doesn't want to lower his salary going out to another team. If he moves to another team, he wants to keep the same salary he's making in Real Madrid. So that is the thing. And that has been happening over the last 2 years. That has been the main issue regarding to Mariano Diaz. He had an offer from, I'm not sure, maybe Benfica or Sporting de Portugal, who wanted to sign Mariano Diaz last year, but they failed. And the reason was pretty much the salary. He wanted to make the same salary. He wanted to have the same salary in Portugal. And that is almost impossible. So he might end his contract until we see how he goes away from Real Madrid. I don't think that he will leave Real Madrid unless a super offer comes through. And regarding to Borja Mayoral, which is the other player in the list, let me tell you that Borja Mayoral is a completely different situation if you compare it with the other players. And it's pretty much because this player is a very, very good forwarder, is a very good player who has performed incredibly good in Rome. He has scored 14 goals in the whole season, coming on from the bench. But the thing is, when it comes to Real Madrid, in the position of striker, you have a lot of competition. You know what I'm saying? It's a, cutting throat competition. We have to Mariano, we have to Jovic, Benzema, rumors about Haaland the next year, Mbappe. Mbappe is a little bit different, but it's still a scorer. So there will not be any chance for Mayoral to play as a forward in Real Madrid, and that's why he is in the list. And I think that he was expecting that. And then, once we are done with all these players, we still have two players left. Dani Ceballos and Gareth Bale. Dani Ceballos, it's funny because the other day, Carlo Ancelotti named just one player without any journalist ask him about. All the journalists in the press room, in the press conference, were asking him all the time about names, Hazard, Bale, Isco, all these players. But none of them named to Ceballos. And even with that, Ancelotti mentioned the name of Ceballos. And it's pretty much because I think that he counts on Ceballos. But the problem is, the club doesn't want Ancelotti to count on Ceballos. I don't know what is the reason. Maybe it's because, performance-wise, or any other reason, I don't know. Maybe it's because they are not very convinced about the player, I don't know. Or maybe it's just because if they sell to Ceballos to Arsenal, they can get a good money in return. Maybe 60 to 70 millions, you know what I'm saying? So whether the behavior, character, money, or whatever it is, Ceballos might not stay any longer in Real Madrid. And then, the last one, Gareth Bale. What is going to happen to Gareth Bale? Because a lot of people are asking me about Gareth Bale. Hey, is he going to retire? Is he going to get back to Real Madrid? Is he going to get back to Tottenham? Okay, none of that. Apparently, according to Jose Felix Diaz Marca, the plan of Gareth Bale is once the Europe Championship is over, he will retire. He will forgive the money that Real Madrid has to pay him for the last year, the last salary, and he will retire. And some voices, some rumors out there, this is just pretty much gossip. They're claiming that he will devote the rest of his life to golf, which is, I don't know. In my opinion, this is questionable, because although I know that he loves golf, I don't know if he really wants to become a professional golfer or something like that. I don't know. This is just rumors and speculations, but the thing is, apparently he's not counting to get back to Madrid to play, and even less becoming more important for Carlo Ancelotti. And he was asked about that, and you could see in the head, he was denying with the head. When he was asked by the journalist, and the journalist asked, hey, is this the appointment of Carlo Ancelotti is going to change your mind, is going to impact your decision? And he was denying with the head. He was caught on camera, and he was denying with the head. He was saying pretty much, no, I didn't think about that. I just wanted to focus on the Europe Championship and stuff. But he didn't say that. He was denying with the head. So it's pretty clear to me that this guy, once the Euro Championship is over, he will retire. That is my opinion. And then apparently in this list, in this article, 3 names, Reinier, Kubo, and Brahim Diaz, apparently will be given on loan again. I'm okay with that. I don't think that these guys are ready to get back, in my opinion. But let me tell you that Kubo and Brahim Diaz have spent the last 2 seasons playing on loan in different teams. And whereas the experience of Brahim has been in Milan has been really great, Kubo has had a very difficult times, go through a very difficult times. He struggled in Villarreal, he struggled in Getafe, and in my opinion, he will struggle in any other club he will be given on loan to. There's no reason for me to think otherwise. So although I think that they are still young and they can still working on it and improving and all the stuff to get back to Real Madrid, I think there's still a lot of problems ahead for them to get back to Madrid. So now let me know your thoughts about that. Just comment in the section below, and of course, subscribe my channel, Real Madrid Hub.